Tyler Lee, red and black, home of the state championship plaque. But in 05 will still be holding, so I know which had to bring it back. Something about Tyler, cause them boys straight jack. Division 1-5A wasn't ready for the 04 sack attack. Boy, you should've stopped when they told you turn your head and caught, but instead you played us and took a loss. I tried to tell them we were the Lone Star boss. I mean, why else would they take a delay a game on a coin toss? So quit delaying the game, boy, we've had enough. Matter of fact, either make the caller just hang up, cause you just ain't tough enough. Go ahead and call a bluff and see if we can't beat you in blindfolds and handcuffs. Why you standing there looking amazed with no clue? Y'all need to find another sport our drill team can take you. I guess that's just how the Red Raiders will do. Y'all can have your whole school on the field and we'll still run through. You better play ace of base and see the sign. You're running for your life if you ever get caught behind enemy lines. Might as well take a knee and start praying. That's why all year the Red Raiders been saying, how you feeling, Red? You know. Texas State champ, show. Stop Tyler Lee, oh no. If you wanna come get it, let's go. How you feeling, Red? You know. Texas State champ, show. Stop Tyler Lee, oh no. If you wanna come get it, let's go. If you ain't winning, go ahead and close your lips. Got a whole team of captains, we just took over the ship. They falling down and blaming it on the slip, cause they know we deal our most shots in a 6-foot clip. Yup, better watch those running backs, they love to climb. The only thing our receivers dropping, other teams morale. Try to cross that line and get put in the grind, and we'll dual option QBs, what you gon' do now? Meet the linebackers, D-line if you want some. Try to hit for the end zone if you want your body numbed. It's like meeting Roy Williams coming across the middle, son. Cause our corners and safety make sure your career was done. Check out our pep rallies, boy, I mean man. With 3 times as many fans and one hell rocking band. Cheerleaders on handstands, pro group of these gentlemen. And I promise, we got the best moms in the land. Come take a seat in the stands and watch us wreck. Taking our teams from here to Waco, back up to the Metroplex. Spring West of the flex and got put to rest. By the time we left the Alamo Dome, it was who's next. How you feeling, Red? You know. Texas State champ, show. Stop Tyler Lee, oh no. If you wanna come get it, let's go. How you feeling, Red? You know. Texas State champ, show. Stop Tyler Lee, oh no. If you wanna come get it, let's go.
What is up? It is week 7. Fantasy Jarvis going solo again. Good to be with you. Looking forward to getting some news out there. Let me see. I'm going to try to get this shared up on the page. Hope everybody's cool weather evening is going well. I'm excited. This is a big week, halfway there. Crazy how fast time flies in fantasy football. It's just like, I just think about the end of it and I'm just like, no. I mean, I love playoffs. I love trying to get a championship and all that stuff, but I don't want it to end. I wish football was year round, of course. Let's see. Lots to cover tonight, but should go pretty quick because I'm solo and I'm not BSing around, I guess. But no, I'll try to make sure that we just hit the most important stuff. Tonight we're going to talk about week 7. Got a lot of news. I'm going to go through some of the injuries. I might miss some because I'm not the injury guy. I didn't have anything really ready. The ones that I know, the big ones. Talk about my shit show for last week. Play calling. Something a little different. Receiving duos. I wanted to touch on some of the past duos over the years because I was setting my lineup this week and was having to use Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas in the league, and I was like, man, it just makes me think of some of the badass duos that there were. So I want to talk about that. Like I said, the halfway point where you stand, why IDP is better. We're going to talk about trading, wide receiver cornerback matchups for week 7, bounce back candidates, sleepers for this week, dead to me candidates, and games I want to load up on in DFS. So let's get right into the juice. So big news this week, Carlos Hyde traded to Jacksonville. So that makes me worry about a few things. Number one, Fournette. I mean, he's obviously been iffy to out the whole season, killing people. But when you look at a trade like this, you really worry about Fournette's future for this year. So they're obviously kind of desperate for the move. Also, Yeldon's had the ankle issue. He's not questionable as of now. I think he's going to go. So that was another worry I had. I was like, man, well, maybe both of them are going to be out. But I think TJ Yeldon's going to play, and he will still have a big part of the offense and get plenty of carries. So, yeah, that's big news. Nick Chubb firing up. By the way, Charlie, so funny. He sent me a trade offer for Nick Chubb yesterday, thinking that I was like not paying attention, which actually I didn't get the news out until probably like 30 minutes after it happened. Preston Bishop, I appreciate you posting that, because I saw it, I was like, oh, holy shit, I need to look at my Twitter. I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is badass, by the way. If you guys like Assassin's Creed, it's so awesome. It's the biggest open world game. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. And it's Sparta, so I mean, it's like 300. It's violent. It's great. It's a great game. Love it. So anyway, that's a totally off topic. But some more news. Buffalo's planning to start Derek Anderson this week, which could be another train wreck. So, I mean, it's like Peterman is bad. Anderson's probably started 2 games since 2014. Yeah, so it's going to be tough for Buffalo again. Let's see here. Le'Veon is another tab I had. Hopefully he reports Monday. We'll see. Of course, everybody's on the edge of their seats on that deal. We'll see what happens. I hope he does. Let's talk about some injuries, some of the big ones this week. Finally, they moved Devonta Freeman to IR, so I mean, that sucks. I have him in 3 leagues. It sucks. But you're not just like, you get to make a move and try to figure out what you're going to do, because you know you're not going to have him at this point. So, and odds are, it just depends. Tevin Coleman goes so high in drafts that a lot of times people don't get Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman, because you don't want to pay so much for the handcuff there. But so in a lot of leagues I actually don't have Tevin Coleman, which sucks. But Ito Smith was a big pickup this week for a lot of you guys. Do I think that he's going to get some points? Yeah. I mean, he could probably get you like 7 to 11 points a week. Maybe have a couple of really good games. I mean, it's a vultures on a gut wagon right now for running backs. You can't find running backs anywhere. So if you did get Ito, I mean, he could help you. Mohamed Sanu, questionable with the hip, and Calvin Ridley, questionable with the ankle. So keep an eye on those two. That could play a big factor this week for Atlanta. But it is a Monday night game, so that gives them a little extra time to get ready. For Chicago, this is a big one. Khalil Mack with this ankle injury. Man, if you can't get pressure on Tom Brady, then he's going to eat you alive. So that whole game is riding on whether Khalil Mack plays or not, I think. T.Y. in Indiana's back. That's big. I've been needing him to come back. In Miami, Ryan Tannehill out. So the month of Brocktober continues. Oh, my gosh. He was on the $1 million lineup, by the way, in DFS last week, which was insane to me. So, I mean, if you're going to go out there and use him again, you're crazy, I think. More power to you. For the Jets, you got Crowell. He did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Kind of worried about that deal. Powell will obviously get the touches if Crowell's out. Quincy Enunwa out, which kind of makes Jermaine Kearse pretty interesting, I think. Terrell Pryor might actually, he's been dealing with the injury too, so he could be somebody that you could look at as well for the Jets. Let's see here. Who else do I have? Melvin Gordon, this was a big one today. Downgraded a day before the game. Tomorrow it's a 9:30 game in London, so get your lineup set for that. But Mel Gordon getting downgraded the day before the game, that is sketchy. So Austin Eckler is probably going to fill in there, but they'll also have, drawing a blank, but there's another running back that they'll probably have involved. I'll get that information out there as soon as I can. So trying to wing this today. Yeah, Dalvin Cook out. At least you're not questioning whether he's going to get 6 carries and be limited in the game or be on a pitch count or something like that. So, but Lat Murray filling in. Last week, man, Lat Murray filled in and went nuts. Nobody saw that coming, I promise, nobody. This week, it's not going to be. That was against the Cardinals, so this is against freaking New York Jets. So he's not going to run like that again, people. You can plug him in if you absolutely have to have him, but I mean, I've got him backing up Dal Cook, and I'm not throwing him in there. I'm going to stay away. Another really big one that during a bye week is Marshawn Lynch with the groin is going to be out a few weeks. So this was crazy. When the news came out, I was like, man, all I was thinking was Jalen Richard. You need to get Jalen Richard. I didn't even remember that Dougie Fresh Martin was playing for Oakland. That's how insignificant he kind of is. But you never know. I mean, he's going to get some opportunities. So he's a warm body in a jersey that can go on your bench, and you can see. Who knows? All right, so I'm sure that there's a lot more injuries that I didn't cover. I don't usually cover that. Nolan does, so I didn't have a whole bunch of them. You'll just have to double check your rosters and all that kind of stuff. Let's get into the stuff that I really like to go over. My shit show for this week. And my shit show for last week is actually for this week because it was a Thursday night game and it was the Arizona side of the ball. Oh my God, they got lit up. Denver, if you had Denver D, you were just laughing your ass off to the bank. It was bad. It was bad. It was so bad. And the worst part about it is the play calling. And Mike McCoy, you can look. They've got it on Next Gen Stats where David Johnson was running, and I mean, like almost 100% of play calls are for inside, and you can't use David Johnson like that. You just can't. So he's an idiot. He got fired, which is great because Byron Leftwich is going to call the plays now. We'll see how that goes. I think it's going to go a lot better though. Let's see. So the O-line is also bad there. I think that was just trashy. Defense is bad too, obviously. Then I did like what I saw from Chad Williams last night, or Thursday night. Man, I think he's kind of got some promise for the future. He's kind of a bigger guy. He runs good routes. If they get the quarterback situation worked out, I think that he could be good in the years to come. So somebody to watch for like Dynasty and stuff. David Johnson the rest of the way, man, it can't get any worse. It cannot get any worse. So, and he got you 10 in a PPR this week, so it's better than nothing. But no, by no means is he where we all drafted him and where we thought he would be. Man, the guy's got clear talent. He's really good. It's just you have to be able to use him the correct way. It to me, it reminds me of Todd Gurley 2 years ago. They were not using Todd Gurley the way that they needed to. So that's what happens when you have crappy play calling. It can have a huge effect, and that's something that can kill running backs. Larry Fitz came through a little bit, so man, maybe. He's been dealing with a little bit of injury, but he's been killing everybody. So maybe he's going to get a little better coming down the stretch with the new play caller and everything. And how important is play calling? Just like I said, I mean, if you compare Mike McCoy to Sean McVay, it's not even close. And you can tell it's a really good team versus a really bad team just by the play calling, and it can kill your players for fantasy. So it's very important. Something I wanted to get, I made a big post this week. It was really fun because I did a lot of research, like I said, about receiving duos of the past. And I was looking at Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas and having to start them. And I'm like, man, there's running backs, there's receivers, there's tight ends. There's a lot of duos that have been in the NFL over the years that you had no problem drafting them both, rolling them both. And I want to talk about a few of them because it's just fun to bounce back. And though I just went back to 2000 because, I mean, there's fantasy players from before that, but really you're old school. If you were playing in the 90s, getting off the newspaper, that's awesome. But, so Back in the day, Minnesota is a big one. Randy Moss and Chris Carter. My gosh, they tore up the club. Then you look at 2002, Plaxico Burress and Hines Ward for Pittsburgh. That was a dangerous duo right there. That was a dangerous duo. Moving a little bit forward to Indy, 2004, Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. My gosh, if you have both of those guys on your team, you were just spanking it, PPR, spanking it. Then moving ahead to 2005, my boy Larry Fitz, my favorite player. I mean, I love him. Guys, just amazing. And Anquan Bolden, man, those guys were going high in drafts, and you were happy to have them. You were like, man, I remember the year that Fitz was going in the top 3, if not first overall. He was getting drafted really high because he was just tearing it up. Then 2006, looking at Ocho Cinco and TJ Houshmandzadeh. That was a pretty dangerous duo, and Carson Palmer was just lighting them up. I mean, that was a good duo there. 2007, you had Randy Moss again with Wes Welker. That was fun to watch. Denver back in 2008, and I know a lot of you remember this, when Brandon Marshall, but he was going off, but Eddie Royal was a guy that you could plug in your flex, pump up some points. Eddie Raw, I know Fubu loved Eddie Royal. He had him he had him when he went to the Bears and everywhere that he went. Pittsburgh again in 2009, Santonio Holmes and Hines Ward tore it up. I'm just going to go through a few more of these because it was fun to look up. Mario Manningham and Hakeem Nicks for the Giants in 2010. That was pretty big, and I had to put this tight end duo in because you have to admit they were just blowing it up. The year that Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, rest in peace, were tearing it up. That was big. And then also that year, Victor Cruz, Hakeem Nicks, huge duo. Roddy White, Julio Jones. That was a year of duos, 2011. 2012, Vincent Jackson and Mike Williams at Tampa Bay. It's pretty big. Mike Williams he was kind of at the end of his deal, and he didn't play too terribly long. But then Denver, this goes back all the way to 2012. Demaryius Thomas and this was 2012. No, Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker that year. Yeah, Peyton Manning. He was throwing ducks, but he's getting it done. Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey in Chicago. That was huge. I loved having Brandon Marshall that year. I loved it. Then you had Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb in 2014, and Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders in 2014. And then I know a lot of people had this, Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker when they were at the Jets. That was big, and that was Fitzmagic. One of those years that Fitzmagic just had just crazy stats and getting it done. That same year was the year that Allen Hurns had all of those TDs, and he played opposite of Allen Robinson. And you were just like, oh my gosh, Allen Robinson was the truth. That next year he went in like the top 10, and he ended up getting hurt and screwed everybody. But I know we all remember that. 2016, Brandon Cooks and Michael Thomas. First year of Michael Thomas, it was big. Last year, Marvin Jones and Golden Tate was big. Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs is the first year of their emergence. My gosh, that was big. This year, I want to talk about my favorites this year, and we'll see how it stacks up at the end of the year, but I like AJ Green and Tyler Boyd. That's an awesome duo. And everybody was high on Tyler Boyd whenever he came out, but it just took him a couple of years to develop, and he's playing like he is the wide receiver one over there. And and he's putting up the numbers for it. So he's a big pickup for a lot of people. Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster is a big one. Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs doing it again, even though Diggs had kind of a down week last week. Kenny Galladay and Golden Tate. I mean, really, that's a trio over there. Marvin Jones has kind of been slacking. He's not doing it as big as we thought he would, but this week is going to be a bounce back week for him, by the way. So look for that. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, big one. Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp. If Cooper Kupp can get back on the field, that's a pretty good duo. Somebody mentioned on the Facebook page when I posted the duos, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good one. Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans, that's another good one. But yeah, it was fun to look back at all of these duos throughout the years and see who the big time ones were and remember that. If you guys know any more, post it. Find the post on the page and let me know who I left out, who your favorites were, who got it done for you. But yeah, let's move on. So we're at the halfway mark. I play in a couple of leagues that have Week 12 playoffs, so definitely the halfway mark. How are you doing? How many of you are 1-5? How many are 5-1? How many are 6-0? I haven't seen a 6-0. Let me hear it. Let me hear it if you're 6-0 in your league. I haven't seen that. I've got a couple that are 5-1, but I don't have a 6-0 team this year. Since we're at the halfway point, you got to be proactive. You got to get on the waivers. You got to start making moves. It's not going to just magically flip the script unless you make the moves. And I know a lot of people are waiting on people like Lev Bell and stuff like that. So maybe next week he comes on and really pumps your team and gets you propelled to the playoffs, which is what we want, obviously. Yeah, if you're sitting on waiver dollars, if you look at your waiver budget and you're sitting on 70% of your budget from the beginning of the year, you're not being very proactive on waivers. So just to let you know. Next topic I want to talk about was IDP versus team defense, and I just wanted to make just a quick point on it. So last week I was actually at the game, Dallas and Jacksonville, and Dallas just out of nowhere just craps all over Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is a solid defense. My point on this is it can be so fluky with defense, so fluky. I mean, you can have weeks that are up and down with the best defense in the league, and it's just you're sitting there grading and trying to rank 22 players because the special teams too, as opposed to having a linebacker, defensive back, and possibly a defensive lineman. And you can play those three positions just like you would receivers and running backs and anything else. You can pick up good ones that are getting it done every week, and you can, adjust. But man, it's so much better. You should definitely talk to your commissioner about it if you don't have IDP. I strongly advise giving it a try, even if it's just like a trial run in your league. I really think that it's something that it makes it more fun. You learn a lot more players. You learn a lot more defensive schemes and stuff like that. And honestly, I mean, it's really not hard at all. It's really not. I mean, we love it. All the leagues that I have that play it, we all love it. Let's talk a little bit, since I mentioned trading and the halfway point. I wanted to give you, we used to have that segment called the Shit Sammy, and that was the horrible trade of the week that we got sent. I got a bad one from Brandon Downs. I can't even remember it, but it was a bad one. Brandon Downs, you know what it was. And then Charlie tried to give me Pierre Garçon for Nick Chubb as soon as Nick Chubb got the starting job. Yeah. Some of you guys don't know the art of the trade, and I wanted to give you guys a step-by-step, help you out here. Because you're at the halfway mark, it's not going to magically happen. You've got to make some moves. So first step on the list is make sure that you get your league mates' contact info, because you definitely want to be able to make a deal without just sending the trade. Figure out what you need. Don't just be trading to trade. I know a lot of people do that because it's fun to look at something different, but figure out exactly what you need, figure out what you can give up, and find a team that needs what you can give up. It's that simple. Make the offer beneficial to you and the team you're making the move with. Very simple step there. If you offer shit, you'll be treated like shit. So I don't know why you expect to not be treated like shit if you're offering turd on a platter. Don't offer shit. Using the contact info that you got, text or email the team owner. I like to start my trade talks with, it looks like you need a wide receiver 2. Well, I have that wide receiver 2, but I could use one of your 19 starting running backs. Let's make a deal. Don't limit yourself. If you do need to make a move, don't make it a cutoff at a certain player unless you're just like you're not budging on whatever player that is. You need to come to terms with, hey, I've got a losing record. I'm going to have to trade one of my top guys and get 2 guys in return because I'm not getting it done like this. So definitely look at doing that. Yeah, and I can understand in some cases, but if you're 2-4, you need to consider giving up somebody big. Don't offer 3 for 5 or 3 to 5 players for 1 player. That's retarded. I hate that. Nobody wants to drop 2 players or 3 players or 4 players and making one deal. I personally hate trades of 3 or 4 or 4 for 4. Having so many pieces involved in a trade, I can't stand that. It's a pet peeve. I'm not going to make that move. The more pieces, the more complicated, the less likely the move actually works out for both sides. So try to just keep it, to team needs and to a couple of players. The golden rule of trading, if you ain't trading, you ain't trying. That's been the golden rule forever. So if you're going to give up, but you don't have to. You can make some moves and maybe make it work out. Sorry, I'm thirsty. Yeah, get out there and make some moves because it's nut cutting time. Let's talk about wide receiver cornerback matchups for week number 7. Anybody against MJ Stewart. Tampa Bay is atrocious against outside and slot receiver. This is going to be a good week for Jarvis Landry. Mark my words. I know he killed a lot of people last week. So Philadelphia secondary has been getting torched. So Devin Funchess against Ronald Darby and or Jalen Mills. I like that. Tennessee gives up points, especially Malcolm Butler. So Mike Williams this week, Keenan Allen. For the Jets, Buster Skrine. It's been real bad. And so is Perry Nickerson. So Stephon Diggs bounced back this week, like I said earlier. And Thielen's going to do what he's been doing. So that's a good matchup there. Jimmy Ward's been horrible for San Francisco. So Brandon Cooks has a big bounce back week this week, I think. I'm calling 100 and a T. So fire up Brandon Cooks. Going to feel good about it. PJ Williams for New Orleans covers the slot. Well, that's his designated job, is to cover the slot, but he doesn't do it very well. So if Calvin Ridley goes, he's going to... Willie Snead is who I'm talking about. Baltimore playing New Orleans. So Willie Snead is a sneaky play. So Calvin Ridley, when he played against New Orleans, that's when he went 7 for 146 and 3 T's, and that was a big game. So I think that Willie Snead could be a sneaky play. Sterling Shepard, week 4 was 10 for 77 in a TD. So yeah, you can get it done against PJ Williams. OBJ and Sterling Shepard against Atlanta. Atlanta is just a crap show. If Eli can stay upright, then look for some points there. Buffalo's been really good against wide receiver ones. If there's only one thing to say positive about that whole team, but so Ty isn't going to have these are bad matchups, by the way. Ty isn't going to have the best welcome back facing Tre'Davious White this week, so don't expect huge things. D-Hop and Will Fuller going up against tough Jacksonville secondary. though they weren't great last week against the Cowboys, but a lot of the production came from Cole Beasley in the slot. So Kiki Kuti is probably going to be pretty sneaky this week. Baltimore is going to be pretty tough for New Orleans, but you're obviously going to roll Michael Thomas out no matter what. Let's see. Bounce back candidates for this week. You got Jarvis Landry against Tampa Bay. That's a good one. Brandon Cooks against San Francisco. That's a good one. Stephon Diggs against the Jets. I like it. They're strong against the run, but not very strong against the pass, so I like that. Let's see. Mike Evans against Cleveland. I really like that a lot this week. John Brown against New Orleans. It's going to be a big week for Willie Snead, Crabtree, John Brown. It's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be a great week. So roll out your Baltimore players. Carlos Hyde against, I wrote this before the trade. So Nick Chubb against Tampa Bay is going to be big. Jordan Howard against New England, it could be a bounce back week for him. He's obviously been struggling, so we'll see. But Tariq Cohen is one of my favorites this week, so roll him out there. He's going to be on my sleepers list. Travis Kelce against Cincinnati is going to be a good one. George Kittle against the Rams could be a pretty good bounce back there. They're not great against tight end. Corey Davis against LA. I don't know, man. I mean, last week was pretty bad, so I think that there's a potential for him to come back this week. Sleepers for the week, like I said, Kiki Kuti, Jermaine Kearse. I mentioned that Quincy Nunn was going to be out, so that's a good one. Willie Snead. Marquise Goodwin. Don't sleep on Marquise Goodwin. He had a huge game last week. Better could get it done. So, he looks like a pretty good quarterback against Green Bay. Green Bay is not great on defense, though, by the way. Frank Gore this week or Kenyon Drake. I can't even believe I'm going to mention that, but if Kenyon Drake can't get it done this week, he's dead to me. He hasn't really been alive for me anyway, but, I mean, this has got to be a good week for the Miami running game. Tariq Cohen I mentioned, Peyton Barber, Ito Smith. Those are just a few of the sleepers that I have for week 7. So it could be some plays in DFS that are probably pretty cheap. Other players that are good in good spots for week 7, David Njoku. Tampa Bay horrible against tight ends. This could be a week for David Njoku to go off. Zach Ertz against Carolina is pretty good. AJ Green and Tyler Boyd both against KC. It's going to be a torch fest over there. Julian Edelman against Chicago. Joe Mixon against KC. Everybody against KC, firing them up, making it happen. Let's see. Kareem Hunt on the opposite side. Cincinnati's not great against the run, so I think Kareem Hunt's going to do pretty well. Tevin Coleman against the Giants, I kind of like that. Kerryon Johnson against Miami, I like that. Kerryon could have a pretty good week this week. Now we talked about players that are doing well and that are going to continue to do well. Let's talk about dead to me candidates, because there's quite a few. Kenyon Drake, just like I said, if he doesn't get it done this week, he's dead to me. Derrick Henry, he's a candidate for being dead to me. Josh Doxson, I used to love that guy. Jamison Crowder, both of them. Just basically the Washington wide receivers are basically dead to me, or going to be dead to me. They're on the list. Randall Cobb, he's on the list. Man, he cannot stay healthy. Chris Hogan, I'm so glad I stayed away from him. People are cussing that guy. Alan Hearns, my gosh, you go to a prime position and you can't get anything done. Dead to me. Ryan Tannehill, I mean, he's basically dead anyway. Case Keenum, man, I thought that he would play a lot better. He's last in a lot of quarterback categories. Last, or close to last. Derek Carr, another quarterback, man, he's got to just get out of there and get to another system. I think that's the only thing that's going to. John Gruden just needs to clean house, I guess, but and he's not scared to. Marcus Mariota is going to be on the dead to me hit list. Tight ends, they don't even make it long enough to be alive, so there aren't any that are dead to me candidates, and that's hilarious. Like Austin Seferian Jenkins went on IR. I mean, and I look at this stuff all the time. I didn't even remember that. That's how just horrible they are. It's just a shit show. Just a shit show. So for DFS this week, games that I want to load up on, New England, Chicago. Trubisky could have another good week. The Vegas is saying 50-point total in that game. Cincy, Kansas City, 58.5 points total by Vegas. That's going to be one that obviously you want to load up on. I've got Joe Mixon going in a lot of my cash games this week. New Orleans at Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore's defense is good, but they're still expecting a pretty big point total there. So I want to get especially Baltimore players on that one. The Giants at Atlanta, 54-point total. So that's pretty big. I mean, I think that Atlanta's defense is bad enough where Eli can get some production to some of the receivers. OBJ should be bounced back. I know that people are kind of cussing him, but he should be all right this week. Sterling Shepard too. The LA Rams and San Francisco, 53-point total for Vegas, and I think that there's going to be plenty of points on the board there. So load up on those games. Yeah, so that's basically it. My bold predictions, though. Joe Mixon has 100 on the ground and 2 TDs. Tyler Boyd has 100 and a TD. And let's see. Let's call Tyreek Hill 150 yards. So all of my bold predictions are from that game. So, all right, man. It was quick, it was short, it was sweet because I'm rolling solo. So, yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.